Hello everyone and welcome to Claret and Booze. My name's Nick and this is my daily ramble. I hope you're all well. How are we all feeling after the bloody disappointment of that transfer window? I don't think anyone's going to be that surprised though, are we? I mean, were we really expecting any more signings? I know I wasn't. That's probably why we weren't covering the transfer window. You know, we did a couple, but we never truly believed that there was going to be anyone coming in. But look, we're going to get into it. We're going to dismantle everything that's happened and what we think about what's going to happen moving forwards in a bit. Before we do, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit that bell notification icon. And if you do enjoy the show, please hit the like button because it does really help us. It's really appreciated. Okay, right now, not a lot of prep has gone into this, to be quite honest. It's going to be a real ramble. So I'm going to be bouncing all over the place, no doubt, mind you. That is often the case with my videos, isn't it? So I went on the Hammers Chat deadline day show yesterday, and I kind of had a little chat with Gio and Gonzo. But before I went on, I saw Anton Ferdinand, who was on, I think, the running order when the show started. So give it a watch; it was good. You had Chris Akabusi, you had Tony Perry, who's Billy from EastEnders, and then Anton Ferdinand joined afterwards, and he's on for about half an hour. Really interesting what Anton goes on about. And to give you a little bit of a taste, I'll watch it for yourself, but he kind of he touched on the Ashby one first of all. So he was very critical of a lot. You know, it's refreshing to see an ex-professional footballer from the West Ham scene, and he's quite recently retired as well. He's not, you know, it wasn't that long ago. He was in that setup, so he knows a lot of the, he knows how it all works. He knows a lot of the players. He knows the likes of Mark Noble as well, who he touched on as well, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But the one thing that he did say, which kind of got me, and it reflected how I feel, was this Harrison Ashby debacle, along with all the other kids that have that we've got shot of as well. But he said that was kind of the peak. He said Harrison Ashby, you know, was clearly a good player. I mean, Newcastle, who have got the money and the finances to go and buy whoever they want, they've waited and they've gambled on Harrison Ashby to be the understudy for Kieran Trippier. That says it all. And David Moyes comes out with the usual soundbite saying, "Oh, you know, well we offered him everything. We did all we could, but he wanted to go. What are you supposed to do?" Well, I'll tell you what you're supposed to do, Moyes. Play him. That's what he wanted. That is what he wanted. That is what any kid that is coming in, anyone worth their salt coming into football, they want to be playing. They want to be playing football. He couldn't see a path. So you didn't do all you could because he was fourth choice behind Soufal, Johnson, and even Kehrer. When you play Kehrer at right back, he was never going to get any game time. He could see that. And he should have been embedded into this team long before this season even. You know, he's been a good player for quite some time. He's 21 now. And Anton Ferdinand said exactly that. He said it really hurt him. He said that one did really hurt him. It brought it all home, how bad things are. And he said exactly that. He said it's because of the opportunity. He said after Soufal, who's had a terrible start to the season, was dropped momentarily, not for long. He came out in a check press and he gave Moyes both barrels to a degree. Basically gave him an ultimatum. This is what Anton said. Saying, if you don't play me, I'm going. So he's basically threatened him. And what does Moyes do? He caves. And he plays Soufal. Now we've got a situation where Johnson wants to go. We know that anyway. He's not signing a new contract. And Ashby has gone. And what Anton said was exactly right. He said the right thing to have done there from a football perspective and from a business perspective was to sell Soufal. Get rid of him. Sell him. And then let Ashby and Johnson fight out at right back. Make sense? You know, we know that we've got good players there, the pair of them. Johnson's gone downhill drastically, but that's probably not helped by the fact that he probably doesn't want to get injured. He wants his move in the summer. I think he's disillusioned with it all, as many of the players are. And yeah, Harrison Ashby, he knew he could see he wasn't going to get any game time, and it goes back to Elise at the tail end of last season when I think the only centre back that we had available to us was Dawson, and they played a back three with Cresswell and Soufal either side of him, and you had Elise, the 23-year-old under 23 captain, sitting on the bench thinking, "This has got to be my chance, isn't it? You know, surely this has got to be my chance." No, nothing. Didn't get any time at all. And that was obviously when Elise, he had his mind made up. If you go back before that, you had Josh Cullen as well, who, as we said on the booze up the other night, Josh Cullen's 27 in April. His career's just started. It's just started. Through being stuck in our under-23 system and, doing a couple of pointless loans, he went out to Charlton and he went somewhere else, did well in both loan spells. His career didn't get going until he was 24, 25, and he had to go abroad to rebuild it. He had to go over to Anderlecht. Luckily, he did well, showed a great attitude, rebuilt his career, but he's been robbed of half of his career. He's only literally just got started. It's a short enough career as a footballer anyway. Now, you can't tell me that Josh Cullen now, sitting in his position, he must be sitting there thinking, do you know what? If he could rewind time, I guarantee you he would have done what Perkins did and he would have done what Ashby's just done. He wouldn't have wasted any time because you don't get much time as a footballer. And they asked Anton Ferdinand, they said, when did you break into the team? He was 18. He was 18 and he kind of got his debut. 18 years old. This kid, Ashby, he's been in and around the first team squad, been spoken about a lot, and years have passed. He's 21 now. I mean, fucking, he still wouldn't get any game time, and it's got nothing to do with the fact that he weren't signing a contract. Nothing to do with that at all. Moyes wouldn't have played him anyway. That was the one thing that Moyes could have done to have given himself some leverage in negotiations with Ashby. He could have proved Ashby wrong. He could have said, look, you have got a path in, giving him 3-4 games. Let him go and prove himself. Then you've got leverage. You can go to him and say, there you go. You're the starting right back for us. If you go to Newcastle, you're going to be understudy to Trippier. What do you want to do? But no, and it has nothing to do with the fact that we tried everything. We didn't try anything. We don't look after the kids at all. You try and secure them as assets and somehow hope that they're just going to magically develop themselves outside of the first team squad. It is never going to happen. But Anton also went on to talk about Noble. And obviously, Anton didn't say that he'd spoken to Noble, but he didn't dismiss the fact that there's been a massive fallout with Noble on the board. Now, obviously, Anton is in that circle. He'll talk to other footballers. They all know, don't they? And he didn't dismiss it as a rumour or anything like that. He just said West Ham notoriously had not looked after ex-players. Excuse me, 1 minute. I'm going to cough. He said West Ham have notoriously not looked after ex-players, dating back as far as Bobby Moore. You can count on one hand the amount of players they have looked after. And they brought Mark Noble in. They've done the right thing. But, here we go again. They've done the right thing, but it looks like it's not all it's cracked up to be. Mark's obviously seen something in that role that he hasn't liked and he's kicked off. And he said Mark Noble is the type of character that will want to make his own decisions, and if he's going to fall, if he's going to fall on the sword, he'll want to fall on his own sword. He'll want to make his own mistakes. He won't be led up the garden path, and he won't be a sacrificial lamb. And he said that's why everyone loves him, because he won't tolerate that. So yeah, there's definitely issues there. The other rumour is that he did boot off. He absolutely did throw his resignation in, and Sullivan's paid him a nice little bonus to keep him there. But it's probably only a temporary fix if that did happen. If that, it might be the case that he stays till the summer, or I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But no, it's a complete mess. And talking about the transfer window again, we signed Danny Ings. Fine, we signed Danny Ings, but we're desperately short at centre back. We are. We're desperately short at centre back. We've got gaps all over the squad. You might look at our squad and go, yeah, look, we should have enough to stay up in terms of quality. We probably have, but everyone's injury prone. We've got February coming up, which is going to be a defining period with some really tough opposition. Not going to run through them all again. They are. Beyond that, you've got, in March, you're starting the Europa League again. So we're kind of hamstrung by Thursday, Sunday football, which is something that the other teams that are down there, who most have strengthened in this window, are not going to have to cope with. So again, that puts us at a disadvantage. So I just, we try and apply logic to this. John was alluding to yesterday that he thought that he thought, they're trying to clear the decks, they're trying to cash in and stuff like that. I've come up with other conspiracy theories, and the reason that you do that is because you're trying to apply logic to this situation. You're trying to think, they're sticking with Moyes because of this. Are they not signing players because of this? Is this happening? Is that happening? And Gio made an argument yesterday on the show to me, and he said he thinks that they are definitely preparing for relegation. He said you've only got to look at it, look at what they've done with Coventry. They've secured him on they've taken up the option to extend his deal. They've loaned him out. He'll be perfect for the Championship next year, next to Downs. Danny Ings will be a great striker for the Championship. So it's a hard argument to dismiss, but that suggests that West Ham are forward thinking. And then Charlie kind of piped up, and I had to agree with him. And he said, "You're all applying way too much logic to this situation. All of you. You're trying to pick apart the bones of an inexplicable situation, which is governed by people who have no long-term vision beyond the next game. They're bumbling their way through. They're going game by game by game. They don't want relegation. It's the last thing that they want. They don't want to sack David Moyes, not because they like David Moyes or back him, but because they don't want the expense of it. They don't care about the football. They just care about staying in the league, and they'll address what needs to be addressed in the summer. But they are just looking to the next game, They'll look at 2023 and they'll go, we've played 5, we've won 3, we've drawn 1, we've lost 1. They'll ignore the opposition. They'll ignore what happened before Christmas. They'll think, he's turning it around now. We're going to be all right. We're fine. That's what they're going to think, is keep calm and carry on. They're not panicking. They think we're going to be fine. We've got way too much to go down. There's arrogance there, absolutely. And he said they will panic, and I agree. The panic will come if we lose the next 3 games that we know what they are, and then you get the Forest game that comes up, and heaven forbid he doesn't win his next winnable game. He ain't going to win them all. At some point, he's going to lose one of these must-win games, which saves his job. One at some point, he's going to lose one, and then we're going to be on 24 games, probably, depending on how Southampton do, who have just bought a load of players as well. We could find ourselves rooted to the bottom in a breakaway league in the bottom, which could be maximum 6 teams, could be 5, which are kind of 6 points to 9 points from the team in 14th place. And then you are locked into a season-long relegation battle that you've got to be lucky to get out of. When you consider all the other outside influences, the Europa Conference League that we've got, and now the FA Cup, the other teams haven't got that. So they will react. If we lose the next 3 and then we lose against Nottingham Forest, they'll sack him, because that's their rule. That's their rule. They're going by. That is how ridiculous it is. They're ignoring the fact that he's earned the sack through a sustained period of poor performances, stretching back over a year now, over a calendar year. He should never be here. They're going game by game. It's game by game, and they're trying to bumble their way through, because sacking Moyes will be expensive, getting another manager in will be expensive. That is my only explanation, and now, and that's kind of what I've come to. And when you think about that, you think, what is the point in harping on, moaning? What's the point in moaning about Moyes? He's every bit as bad as what I've been saying he is. But it ain't going to go nothing's going to change. We're literally a rudderless ship. We are. We're being driven now solely by David Sullivan, and he's like the blind leading the blind. We've got a manager that fits the board. They're both divery, old-fashioned, crap way of thinking. When you look at the rest of the league, it's so archaic in there. It is. It's backwards. We're running a backwards way from the boardroom down to the management team that manage the players. And what I'll leave you all with is something that Anton said about David Moyes, which is why he thinks, this is Anton Ferdinand, thinks that David Moyes has got to go. Okay? If you don't believe me, go and watch it. This is an ex-footballer, an ex-pro, so you might look at me and go, he don't know what he's talking about. He's an idiot. But he echoed everything I've been saying, okay? What he said was, when you look at David Moyes' successful period for West Ham, it's it's a parallel to the successful period at Everton, player for player, position for position, tactic for tactic. He said you can almost pick out every player in that team, from defence through to midfield, through to attack, They're the same. They play the same way. Fellaini, Souček, all the way through. It's the same shape, same tactics. Defenders just head it and kick it. Your midfield wins the ball, and then you've got your industrious. I think they had Jakubo up front. We've got Antonio. Players like this. It's exactly the same. They had a couple of little sort of nippy wingers and stuff that they used to play. Just in the same formation, that 4-2-3-1. It's exactly the same. And he said it's a very simple form of football to coach. But he said what's happened this year is either David Moyes or someone else has decided that we're going to move on to something else and we're going to start bringing in flair players, which I think they all agreed that we had to, because the David Moyes style was failing. So David Moyes himself said that we've been found out. We've got to change it. And what he said was they've brought in all of these flair players, but David Moyes can't coach a flair game. He can't coach flair players. He can't do it. He said he's moved away from what he can do, and this is a net result. And he said that is why I have to be Moyes out, because it isn't going to work. He's not saying that we will 100% get relegated, but we should have enough individual ability versus the teams that are down there at the moment to get ourselves out of trouble, irrespective of who's managing the team. But we should be doing so much better. With the players that we've got, with the personnel that we've got, you need a manager to match. It isn't rocket science. That's what I identified very early on. David Moyes has done nothing to convince me that he can change, because this is the way that he sees football. He can't transform into Klopp or Pep Guardiola overnight. Otherwise everyone would, wouldn't they? It's just not his game. He's always played this way, and now he hasn't got a squad of players that fit him. So, yeah, there you go. That's from the horse's mouth of a recently retired ex-West Ham player as well, in Anton Ferdinand. Like I say, go and give it a watch. It was really good, really interesting, to be honest. So no, I'm just going to wait and see what happens in the next 3 games. I can't see anything other than defeats. And then we've just got to hope that those around us and those below us lose as well. Heaven forbid they don't. Imagine that, if they all start picking up points in that period. And then we come up against Nottingham Forest and we lose that one. Ooh, you can't imagine losing against Nottingham Forest, but they're reinforcing as well. They've gone out, they've made some good signings. They're above us in the table. So, yeah, you just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. But, no, I'm absolutely fucking baffled by the whole situation. I think they're clueless. I think this all comes from above. David Moyes is absolutely fucking useless, but so is the big boss. And ultimately, if the big boss hasn't got a clue and he hasn't got a vision, he hasn't got a philosophy, he ain't going to give a shit about the bloke underneath him. All he cares about is maintaining that Premier League status. The last 2 years have been a fucking fluke. They've been a fluke. They stumbled on a bloke that could polish a turd. The manager stumbled on a combination of players that allowed him to reenact his golden days at Everton. But it weren't ever going to last long, because in this Premier League versus the one that he existed in before, where he was relatively successful, this Premier League is different. They adapt. And it's an old style of football. It was never going to work. You get found out. You need to be dynamic. You've got to be able to change. If you don't change, then you expire. David Moyes is expiring. The HMS Moyes is going down. But is HMS Moyes going to become the HMS West Ham? Are we gonna allow David Moyes to sink us? Is that what we're going to do? Are the Moyes supporters that we've still clearly got in the fan base, are they going to wait like David Sullivan? Are they going to wait like David Sullivan and wait until it's too late before they decide that it's time to go? Because it seems like all it takes, people are Moyes out. You've only got to look at the polls that are run on social media or anything else. After a loss, 90%, 95% Moyes out. We go and beat Derby at League One Derby, and then people are singing his name at the game. Fucking hell. Oh, he ain't going to lap that up much, are they? Is he? You're going to have the club clipping that and putting that on social media. The fans are behind him. We're our own worst enemy. We are. In some instances, you kind of think maybe we've got a ball to suit the fan base as well. I don't know. Because we're the same as Sullivan. We're just going to stick with him. Just stick, I won't, but many will. And then you'll react and everyone will go, no, that's it. But by the time many people go, that's it, it's too late, it's done. It's going to be irrecoverable if it carries on going the way it's going. We need a massive turnaround. We do. But look, anyway, that's it from me. Like I said, bounced about all over the place as I always do. So yeah, I will speak to you soon, and come on your eyes. Right, I'm back. I've just recorded that video that you've all just watched about an hour ago, and I got sent a link on WhatsApp by my brother to an article on Claret and Hugh, where it looks like David Moyes is being blamed for the inactivity in the last week of the window. Apparently, according to Claret and Hugh, which is obviously Sullivan, David Moyes was offered loads of players. You know, he was offered loads of players on loan. There was money to spend. You know, there was definitely money to spend. He didn't want to spend it. Well, do you know what, Sullivan? I don't fucking care. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Your firewall, your protection blanket, it's gone, mate. It's gone. I don't care. Nothing surprises me with David Moyes anyway. You might be telling the truth. You might be completely lying. I expect at this point you're lying, because I think you've got full control now, because he's skating on thin ice. So now you're just using him. You're throwing him under the bus. But look, he is fucking useless. So I don't know why you give him money anyway. But your excuses are gone. They're finished. It's boring. We don't want to hear it. Just shut up. He shouldn't still be here, mate. He shouldn't still be here. So now, I'm sorry, if there's any fires to put out now, David Moyes ain't going to put them out for you. We don't want to hear it. We're bored of it. We're bored of him. You know, any other club after the last 13 months that he's had, he'd be gone. Long gone before this point. And he's still here, and you're still trying to use him as an excuse. It ain't an excuse. It's not a good enough fucking excuse. It's not. You're basically saying he's incompetent again. But yet you're still employing him. It's not an excuse. You absolute fucking muppet. Honestly, I'll go from being apathetic and I'm calm, like I was in that last video, and I'll read something like that and I'm like, do you know what? Just fuck off. We're not stupid, mate. I'm done being pissed off with David Moyes. I've accepted he's rubbish. I've accepted he's staying. I've accepted you're a fucking idiot. But don't take us for idiots, because we're not. We're not. And your excuses ain't going to wash anymore, mate. You're not. So from now on, you know, you can get David Moyes to release podcasts and stuff like that to throw himself under the bus. Well, every time he throws himself under the bus, he's dragging you under with him, because he shouldn't still be here. So every mistake he makes, you're fucking making. That's your mistake, because he shouldn't still be here. I've said it. He just shouldn't. So look, that's it. That's all I've got to say on the matter. Just fuck off.